theme again. Oh, it's still playing. Yeah, I'm going to start it over. Let's start it over. There we go. Hello. Welcome to Movie Crap Live. There we go. I'm live. Sorry to just... I'm early but late, I guess. I guess you could say it that way. Why is Fantastic Four trending? I don't understand why. Anyway, yes, I am actually here. Hello, first off, thank you to Corporate both for the suggestion tonight and for telling me to send out the tweet. Nathaniel Foga, Caden Hanshai, Chan Talks More Movies, Al Vasquez, Javier Portello, Classic Cameron, William Ellman. Hey, how's it going, man? Al Vasquez, K-Master, Disco Spider. It's been a bit. Purple Goop. Austin, I think, was here earlier. I saw in the chat. Remu Haku Shrine. Hello. How's it? Haraku Shrine. I don't think I'm saying your name right, and I apologize. Yes. And welcome to Movie Crap Live. How's it going? I think the song stopped playing, did it? Yes. Whoa. It is Jim is real. Oh, thank you. Man, hectic night to get everything ready for this. I saw that Pan is doing that. This is your 47th time watching this live stream. Oh, okay, that's cool. I hope it's not the same one. Raymu? Oh, Raymu. Okay, Raymu. Anyway, all right. Let's switch over. I am in the kitchen. How's it going? Yeah, it's been hard. My son's having trouble falling asleep, and it's takes a long. It's quite the production to get him to sleep. Let me tell you. Nanbox64, how's it going? Been watching. I tried old TV. That worked one night. I tried Willie Nelson at Lincoln Center, which is a good, relaxing album to a point. This Willie Nelson, Wynton Marsalis, good album if you need to calm down. And I love Willie Nelson. It's like legitimately has so much great stuff. Yeah, it's I'm a little like coming down from like, oh my god, you did this, you drew on that. It's like, oh my god. Yeah, it's the Wendy's. You know what? I was cleaning up and moving kids and stuff, and I saw it, and I was like, you know what? Let's get this guy on here. Anyway, yes, I'm in the kitchen. Everything like that. Actually, I want to tell a funny story. So, this is like a several part thing, I guess, but it was funny, to me, or notable, I guess. So, I'm like, all right, this kid's not going to bed. He can watch boring daddy shows, which I like to watch old TV. I think it's cool. I enjoy old TV, and I like Johnny Carson kind of stuff. So I put on the Johnny Carson's channel on Pluto, which I noticed actually disappeared the next day. So this is the only day we could have done this. I also did some Bob Ross, and that seems to work as well. But we did Johnny Carson, and Johnny Carson starts, he's doing like his monologue, and it's like 89, 90. I don't exactly remember the year he retired, but it's late 80s, early 90s. And I know this because he says, oh, I don't know if you heard, but Sinead O'Connor and Public Enemy boycotted the Grammys. And I'm like immediately like, oh damn it, this is not good. This is gonna be bad, isn't it? And I'll leave you hanging to answer Bloxy Oxenwinkle, but who says, and this is Halloween appropriate, the Monster Energy drink. I almost had a different one. I thought, you know what, if there's a time, and I've never done straight Monster actually. Oh, hello, Jordan Slothflow. I've seen some of Outer Limits. That comes up in a video that might come out tomorrow or soon. Actually, William Wellman, interesting enough. But Black Sax will replace Blade with Paul Blart and vice versa. You know what? Kevin James, I think, would do good in a Blade. Anyway, cheers to you, Black Sax and Michael. Thank you for doing the super chat of the night. Cheers to you. And I have not found... okay. And I have not found oh, thank you, Justin. Sorry, my brain is like, there's been too much going on tonight. Ghost Welsh's grape thing. If I do, there won't be energy drink clue on Twitter, it'll just be like, I got it. And that's all I'll say, and we can get hyped for that. Anyway, so I'm watching Johnny Carson, old Johnny Carson, and he says, Sinead O'Connor and Public Enemy boycotted the Grammys. And I'm like, oh God, like, please let this not be sexist and racist. That's like all going through my head. And I got like this 3-year-old watching this. And then it's like the most toothless jokes. It's all like, oh man, how will we do the Nat King Cole tribute without them? And like all this, all this like, and then it was kind of the volume was low so you could go to sleep. He made some lip balm joke about Sinead O'Connor. That one I don't understand that one. I don't know what that was. But there's all these like, oh, they're not my cup of tea kind of stuff. And I was just sitting there like, what? Like you, it's like you wanted to put them down, but you did it in the most toothless way. It's also really funny when you watch an old footage of something and the guard at the time is like, the kids in this music, and now it's like I think Public Enemy and Sinead O'Connor are probably more well known than Johnny Carson to most young people. So it's like, anyway, it was very weird to be like watching him insult those two. I don't actually know why they were boycotting the Grammys that year. If anyone wants to look that up, but I never found out. But it was just like one of the weirdest. Like you're like, is this gonna be bad? And it was like, oh, it's not. I mean, it's not good, but it's not like. I'm more offended that this isn't funny or even a joke. It's like really weird. Anyway, I don't know why I wanted to share that. But the Johnny Carson channel wasn't there today. A Cornbread, I will give you a shout out. You did actually get the exact right energy drink. Apologies. I should have said that. But it was, they took away that channel. And when I was watching, it was like, why don't they have a channel like when David Letterman was on NBC, if you can watch any of those, he was really good. And I feel like the CBS years, you sort of don't think he's good. And I wish there was just a Pluto channel of Letterman on NBC and even like Conan on NBC. And like every notable late night show has a Pluto channel. I would love that. But anytime Peacock has it, it's like clips of Seth Meyers as a 24-hour channel instead of whole episodes. Like, anyway, I hope they do it. But it was interesting. Johnny Carson's better at, I think, one late night host. Like, I don't like his bits, I don't like his monologue, but I do like his interviews. His interviews are interesting. I mean, they're not amazing, but they're like, yeah. Jordan Slow, that was David Letterman. Anyway, sorry. Let's. Nothing much else is going on. New York Comic Con was this past week. I did have a bit of FOMO, to be honest with you. Maybe next year. Maybe the channel will be even bigger and I can go next year, and that'll be cool. That would be cool. I don't know. But I was like, man, Comic Tropes was there and like all these cool people, and it kind of made me go like, maybe it would be cool to go again, but I always feel weird about going to a con by myself. But like at the same time, I'm like, well, how else would I do it? I'm not like, it's like I don't know. I need to figure that out. But yeah, seeing Comic Tropes was doing meetups. Johnny Tuchello was there. I think Glenn Walker, who I went last time, was there. Just like all this cool stuff. So I did have a bit of FOMO, even though I don't think New York Comic Con isn't like San Diego, where there is a lot of big news. Like there wasn't really big. There's never big news at New York Comic Con, but it's like it would have been cool to go, and I could like, I can be like, oh, I can make a video there. It's just like it's a lot of money, and there's so much to do with the kids, and like, it's just, I don't know. It's a little difficult, so I don't know. But it made me think about it more than I thought of post pandemic. So William Elman says the best David Letterman archive YouTube channel is Dave Giller. Oh, okay. There's one guy like, and he does late night like kind of essay things, and he's really good at it. And I think I've shared it's like comedy film or something. I'll send it to you. They're actually pretty good, and it's more like using clips, and it's an interesting documentary format. But anyway, cheers to you, William Elman. But David Letterman, most of what we do, like everything from Conan to Space Ghost to everybody, all comes from that Letterman NBC run, particularly in the 80s. I really recommend like look up some of those and you won't be disappointed. Anyway, cheers to you, William Elman. Thank you for the super chat. I will check out David Giller. I will check that out because I do like that era. I was more of the CBS era and I liked it, but I never like got the obsession. And then when I saw the '80s Letterman, I got the obsession. I'm trying to think what. So I watched. I've been watching Simpsons with my kids because when I was watching Treehouse of Horrors, or watching some Treehouse of Horrors because it's Halloween and stuff, I was like, I can't really show these to my kids because they don't know regular Simpsons, and so the Treehouse of Horror, they'll just think it's just like these cartoons do horror things, and that's not gonna work. So I thought, and then so I wasn't sure when to do it, and I met this other dad, and he shows his kids The Simpsons, and I was like, you know what, I should do it. And tonight went pretty well with Sophie, and we showed her some, and that went well. But then the first one I showed was like Bart gets an F, and I was like, this is a big episode. And I realized that it's not necessarily a big episode for everyone. It was just a big episode for me because there's some like real moments in it where like the Homer and Marge and Miss Krabappel are like looking at Bart and it's like, you failed. You failed, like you're gonna have to repeat, and he's like crying, and I was like, I was in that situation so many times as a kid. To me, it was a big episode, and it's very well done. The animation's great in it, but like while we're watching it, like I didn't cry, but my son who's 3 started to cry. It was like very real. It's like, I don't know, that episode. The Simpsons used to do more drama in the early seasons, which I noticed they don't do as well since then. But that one, as being like someone who grew up with various great issues and disabilities and stuff, that was a very real episode. But I kind of didn't. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, this is why this episode's a big deal to me. I just hit me. You know what I mean? So, but man, a lot of them really do age well, and the animation's so much better in those early seasons. Like it really feels like anything can happen. Which I think if you take that away, like I don't like the sitcom. That's Doug Walker's favorite episode? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Classic Cameron, I will get you. I'm sorry, I just wanted to finish it. But it's like, I think one of the things I don't like when animation's very stagnant and you can like tell it's not going to do something is like it removes the possibility that anything can happen. I think animation works a little better when, suddenly like, a random thing can happen. One thing that I have noticed, like Family Guy with its cutaways, never got rid of that vibe. Regardless of what you think of Family Guy, even when I was watching Halloween, it was like, it never gets rid of that, which is cool. Oh yeah, that is Classically Shupo. Thank you, Kate. That is Classically Shupo. Okay, sorry, Classic Cameron. I apologize for keeping you waiting. Jim, you liar. You said, hold on. Jim, you liar. You said you gave the Wendy's toy to your kids, but there it is behind you. Hashtag Jim lied. First off, I didn't, because I'm borrowing it, and then they'll play with it again, and it'll go back to their stuff. So, apologize. Classic Cameron. Cheers to you. I still don't know where the SpongeBob stickers went, but I mean, I've kind of been putting out places, but then it leaves. Same with like my Alf figure is missing because they play with most of my stuff. William Ellman says, my favorite non-Halloween spooky Simpsons episode is Night of the Hunter parody One Some Enriched Evening. Sorry. The Night of the Hunter parody one, Some Enchanted Evening. Okay, I haven't how do I think, what season is that? That's interesting, William. Okay. I'm kind of rewatching them with them, but yeah, some of them are like, have early seasons really messes with it, but it is interesting when I watch them, like, but so many people my age are like, oh, my parents wouldn't let me watch it. I think it's just because like cartoons for adults at that time was like Bakshi and stuff like that, and it weirded people out. But like when I watch them, like there's nothing too different from this and Cosby or something. It's just it writing wise just the same, but it's just like people gotta be fucking weird. It's season 1. Okay, I need to rewatch season 1. I think it's been a while, some of these, because the other thing with The Simpsons is I knew when it came on DVDs, everyone in college was like rewatching it, and I was like, dude, I've watched it every day at 5:00 for from grade school to end of high school. Like I needed some of that stuff. Like it was like Spielberg, the bigger Spielbergs or Star Wars and stuff, I sometimes took a break from because it was like so much of my childhood was consumed by it that I was like, I kind of need to discover other things. And so I maybe I need to come around to season 1. Anyway, cheers to you, William Allman. I will try to check that one out. Cheers. I like Night of the Hunter, so Night of the Hunter is a great movie. Cheers to you. All right, let's bring it in a little, I guess. First off, next week there's no stream. Last episode of the season. Thank you, William. There's no stream. I'm doing stuff with my family. We're going away and stuff, so I just no stream next week. There's going to be a lot of like compilations, sort of simple stuff like that. Maybe a review or something, but I don't even know if I'll be able to do that many premieres. But there will still be like certain compilations, stuff like that. So it will be, you will get something, but just if you're like, what happened to this channel? It's just like a week and then it'll be back. I don't think I'll post on election day because I don't know what's going on there. But what was I going to say? So I think the next stream would be probably the Thursday after the election, most likely. I would like it to be. I think Wednesday it's like, it's still election-y stuff to me, so whatever's going on. So most likely will be that Thursday. But keep, subscribe and all that stuff to be posted on that. But yeah, once you see like there's a few compilations and stuff like that. Or the time lapses might come out before that and stuff. But like, just so you're aware, I think I've hyped this up before, but just to remind you. Okay, throwbacks. This week tons of videos with like Rebel Ridge, which I was proud of, and I don't know, I really like that movie, and I'm glad like that video had an interesting arc of like people. I don't know. I noticed people come to that video in a weird order. Like I get these bursts, and then anyway, sorry, I don't need to be talking about that. But the Krabby Patty thing came out, the Rebel Ridge video, and the Family Guy Halloween, as well as whatever came out. This weekend I was getting kind of burnt. So sorry if the videos coming out were like not as much over the weekend, because with everything, some nights I'm just like, I sit down to work on stuff and I just fall asleep. That was one of them. But anyway, the throwbacks is Female Trouble, which I believe it's its 50th anniversary this year and this month. Not one of my favorite John Waters, which I think is because it wasn't really that available when I was in my super middle school John Waters phase, which is probably it's why I am how I am. But I did review that one. But the Cha-Cha Heels and the Christmas Tree, you can't go wrong with that. And then tomorrow, it's actually John Wick's 10th anniversary. Regardless of what you think of that movie, it is definitely kind of what all action movies are judged against. That franchise has just gone up, and I think it sort of keeps building in public opinion since then. Which is interesting. Yeah, so that review, and the review itself is actually going to be 10 years old tomorrow. So, it's a throwback tomorrow. And then, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre review will be the Halloween throwback this weekend. Next week we'll just have two, one of them being the final of the Halloween horror throwbacks. Divine was a disco star. I think is that everything? I think so. Yeah. Anyway. And I think Hollywood Reporter did a piece on John Wick and the directors and stuff like that. So, let's really get into it. All right. The start of it. This and everything I do is supported by you, the fans, either through Super Chats Drink It, where I'll drink this amazing, just regular Monster Energy. I don't think we've done Monster before. At some point, myself or someone should figure out which ones I've done and which ones I haven't. But anyway, I will drink this Monster Energy drink and keep my energy going because it's feeling it tonight. Let's just say that. But and I'll read your question during the show. But you can also subscribe or join the Patreon. It has all sorts of cool stuff, like you get to vote movie review vote totals, you get more power in the movie review vote, you get my commentary series. There's going to be a movie review total soon, and a commentary series video is going to come out the following week. So if you are a patron, you'll get to enjoy those. You also get postcards and all sorts of cool exclusive content, as well as you help me be able to continue to do this and pay off things and dentist bills and all the other magical things that pop up that cost money. As well as like keep this channel going and flyers and stickers and all that stuff. And I very much appreciate it if you're financially able to do so. So if you want to do a super chat, I'm not going to be doing this for 2 weeks after this. Tonight's your night, I guess. But if you financially are not able to do so, just liking this video helps, subscribing. And if you're just watching, I very much appreciate you doing so, and thank you very much for being here. Sinram has a super chat that says John Wick 4 is the closest I've ever seen to a movie as a video game. There's even an overhead view as Keanu is shooting in all directions. I agree with that. I also think it's the closest I've seen to a silent film gag with those that stairs sequence. But I will agree that I think I even said that in review. If I didn't, I thought that when I saw it. But I 100% agree with you, Sinram. That is true. That there's a lot of video game parts, but that stairs sequence, I don't know. When I was thinking about the sequels, this brings up a good point. Which of the sequels I like the most? And I think I like 4 possibly the most, but I do like 2. I also haven't really rewatched any of them beyond 1 more than once, so maybe at some point if my kids are older, we'll go through the John Wick movies. But I felt very good about 4. Maybe it's 4 is better. I don't know. Chat, if you have seen John Wick, what is your favorite? Oh, the Warriors reference was awesome. And there's that Lin-Manuel Miranda Warriors album that I'm confused by. I haven't looked into it. But what's everyone's favorite John Wick sequel? Like, not favorite John Wick movie, favorite sequel. I just want to know. Just curious. Because I feel like most people put 1, because 1's such a big, in terms of where we are film-wise, a big movie. But, like, what is your favorite sequel? 2, 3, or 4? Just tell me in the chat. I'm honestly, this isn't like an engagement bullshit thing. This is like a me. I don't know what is the general consensus, so please let me know. Hello, Daniel. How's it going? Okay, first off, cheers to you, Cedric. I'm sorry. Thank you, Austin says, where the grape ghost Jim, where I want you to drink, say, hey, this is good. Hashtag, where the grape ghost Jim, where I want you to drink, say this is good. Hashtag great ghost. I haven't seen it. I really haven't seen it. But I did check like several stores. So if I'm around and I see a different store, the thing is when I'm traveling, like if I see it, part of me has thought, should I just go like do a random live and drink it? I've thought of that. If I see it. Everyone's saying 2. Okay. See, anyway, cheers to you. If I didn't drink that, maybe, anyway. Okay, 3 was like, Halle Berry was cool, but yeah, I agree. 3 is not. The opening to 3, cool as hell. Okay, seems the general consensus is 2. Nobody's sticking up for 3. Paul Blart is what Blacksea staying on brand. I love it. Yeah, well, Paul Blart's technically a diehard ripoff, but John Wick is not. Cornbread, I think you'd like 4. I hope you get to see. If you see 4, review it for us in the Discord. All right, and that gives me the perfect transition. Is that if you like everyone in the chat, we have a great community here. Then you can hang out with them in the Discord, which is linked below. They have all sorts of cool things. They have movie watches every week. I don't know what they're doing this week, but they've done a lot of cool ones. And as well as there's the postcard thing, so you can see this cyberpunk postcard. Wow, trading card. Jeez, it's been a long night. There's the Ask Jim channel. There's the suggestions for Jim channel, where he actually one of the suggestions I used tonight. I need to watch that indie pilot that Austin posted, but this one was a good suggestion for what's coming out now. All sorts of cool interactive stuff, and there's movie chats and all sorts of cool discussions. It's the Discord I'm most active in. In fact, I'm mostly just active in the general chat where I ask them, what do you want me to talk about on Movie Craft this week? So if you want to join that community, please do so. It is awesome. Oh, they're watching Paprika? Awesome. For whose birthday? Anyway, check it out if you want to. I'm also on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook fan page, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. I want to make a Blue Sky, and I'm hoping I get a chance soon, but I'm not going to talk about it too much because I don't want to do that brain thing where like I give myself the reward of thinking I did it when I didn't do shit. Anyway, let's get into it. So spent a long time just talking about nonsense. And I'm sorry these are never time-stamped anymore. It's just time. I would like to tonight, but we'll see. We'll see. I think we'll just talk about movie news till about 12 and then do the Betty Boop for President thing. Let's see how this goes. All right. So Teen Titans Go is now the longest running DC cartoon ever. It has officially surpassed 400 episodes as of yesterday, extending its run as the longest running DC animated show and the longest running Cartoon Network series of all time. Holy shit, I didn't... You know when you copy things and then you're like, holy shit. This is kind of impressive when you consider how many variations of Super Friends there were, because there's Super Friends and then they like kept renaming it. So I'm wondering if like that made Super Friends not count, because that ran from like the 70s up until like a year or two before 89 Batman came out. Which is insane, but they kept renaming it like Guardians of the Justice League Super Friends or something. Like, they just kept renaming it. So I did think, like, well, is it more? And also, how are we counting episodes? Is it like when Aqua Teen hit 100, they're like, actually, you've made like 50 because they're a half hour. So I'm wondering if it's actually, they have 200. I didn't look that up. But it is interesting how much Teen Titans Go the arc of it has changed, because at first we were all like, God, this show is annoying. Why is it on so much? And now everyone's like, hey, that movie was fun. I'm okay with this show. And now it's just like, I mean, it doesn't matter what's on Cartoon Network because the kids aren't even really watching the linear channel. And I don't think anyone could make a video like, this is what they're playing now. I mean, the only video you'd make about what a linear cable channel is playing is like, man, MTV sure playing that ridiculous a lot. But which a couple of people have made that video. Which I actually learned they were going to cancel it, and then that guy, Rob Skateboard Person, I'm not sure, made the show cheaper so it could keep going, which is interesting. There's a couple shows that did that, and the Late Show with Carson Daly. The reason that kept going is because he found a way to make it cheaper. Just like at some points it's like, wow. Yes, so it's now the longest running of both those things. I don't think this means as much because I don't think it's as big of a show. It's sort of like you watch it or you don't. It's sort of the Family Guy or any syndicated thing of these kind of things, because you can just pop it on and be fine with it, which I think is always what worked about it. Ridiculous is still on, trust me. But yeah, they count segments so it's 200. Okay, Cornbread, thank you. Cornbread said, oh, so it's only 200 full half hours doing, this is rounding down, but okay. All right, so it's actually only 200. You know what? Then fuck that. I take this all away. Teen Titans, it's all good. I don't mind the show. I actually think it gets funner. You know what I think is more fun about it now is how the DC stuff, when it started, it was like, I think did it start around when Man of Steel was new or something? And now, like, the DC thing is so serious all the time. It's actually funnier that Teen Titans Go is the goofy farty fart little kid show, whereas all the other DC stuff is like so so serious. So it's like, I think the juxtaposition has actually helped Teen Titans Go. I think it's gonna kind of get outdated with the Superman thing, which we'll talk about later. Other thing, so Aardman has worked out a deal to make episodes of Pingu. Actually, they want to create shows that resonate. They're kind of, if you've been sort of paying attention to Aardman, they've been trying to do brand stuff more. That's why Chicken Run got a sequel. That's why Wallace and Gromit's getting new stuff. They're trying to use brands to their advantage, because I think they want the studio to get bigger, and they want to do different things with the studio. And I think this is part of that, but them doing the show Pingu, which is a legendary show in England. I don't think it's not as big here until the internet hit. My wife grew up with it. My kids have watched it. But I think it's actually a really good match of franchise with animation studio. Mattel worked it out with Aardman, who owns Pingu somehow. Pingu does talk in his weird nonsense language, so it's not the same. Shaun the Sheep, which is known for its kind kind of silent film kind of humor, whereas like none of the characters are talking, but they can tell a full story. So in a sense, Pingu is perfect with Aardman. That makes absolute sense to me. But I'm curious how they'll use like the weird little Pingu voices and stuff. But to me, this sounds like a homer. Like I'm like, this is just gonna be perfect. Like I don't see any problem with that. And I know, oh hey Super Dusky, I know Pingu. I'd probably see more Pingu than you'd expect. So I honestly do think this is a good match or studio. I'm like excited for Aardman. I do find, well, actually the other day I was walking by this like pet store and I saw there's not a ton of Chicken Run and Shaun the Sheep merch, and every time I see it I'm always like someone, I knew this, I worked with this girl and she had a Shaun the Sheep water bottle, and I'm very jealous of that water. I'm still jealous of that water bottle, and I think I brought it up too much, and she was like, this guy's like really weird. But I was like, I think the last time I was like, no, it's just like legitimately very cool. She's like, you can just buy it. And I was like, yeah, I never did though. Every time I see it I was like, damn, that does look cool. Anyway, but I saw the Chicken Run like dog toy. I was like, man, they really should merchandise more, because I would have more of their stuff if it was more. I found it in stores more, but I guess I could just order it. But this is a really good, perfect match of things. I'm happy for Aardman. I think it'll work out for them. I know there's no like commentary really other than like, I think this thing will go good. So Disney has announced they will have a successor to the Bob Iger position, which in early 2026, which to me is, I honestly expect him to be like, and it's his brother Steve Iger, and he's like wearing a mustache and a backwards baseball cap. Like, I just don't believe Bob Iger will ever, like, he'll have to die. Like, there's no way I believe that I just don't buy that Bob Iger's ever going to leave Disney. But supposedly, they've publicly cited in early 2026 they will have a successor. Sure, guys. I'm okay. All right, so this is kind of a bigger Netflix story. And in my original post for announcing the stream yesterday, I had two things on there. And I realized that it is actually the same sort of story. So if I do get to do a timestamps for this, this will be about Harold and the Purple Crayon and everything fucking Netflix, because there was a lot of Netflix articles, and it's this actually comes from like a few articles that came out, that are all about like what's going on at Netflix currently, and it brings up a lot of interesting questions, which this is sort of what I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about the funny thing first. Which is that supposedly studio executives at Sony, this is the quote, I'm just going to read the quote from the article, but studio executives from Sony who made Harold and the Purple Crayon called their peers at Netflix to see if the streaming service wanted to buy the movie. Sony executives liked the film just fine, okay guys, but they worried it would fail to break through, competing against two blockbusters, Inside Out and Despicable Me 4, according to people familiar with the matter. And so that's why they're trying to sell it. But ended up Netflix wasn't interesting. I honestly, I do believe that's why they wanted to sell it. But I honestly think, I think that Netflix, I mean, that Netflix rejected it is like super telling to me. And, Tommy Tubi has good taste. So like Tubi has like a ton of Godzilla movies. They don't need fucking Harold and the Purple Crayon. Like, it's, I like that streaming fucking rejected this movie. It's like hilarious that Sony was like, okay, we gotta like sell this off, and streamers like, whoa, dude, this is like, I'm drawing the line at this one. Like, this it's like really funny. The Netflix was like, whoa, but this is sorry, I'm joking, but this is actually one of the things that Netflix is having a problem with. This part is not joking. Is Netflix is noticing the quality of their films is sort of not a great situation that they're in currently. And basically in the Bloomberg article that this comes from, they say, this is a quote from the article, Netflix needs to change its approach, is trying to change its approach and make more memorable, bigger cultural hits, because oftentimes they'll have these like big swings and then like 6 months later, like no one's talking about them. And they even had in the article, and they've been doing these interviews, that they asked cinephiles and journalists to talk about movies that weren't like their big movies, and a lot of them had trouble after naming a few, which is like, what? That's bad. That's bad. So they still plan on making big movies every quarter. One of them, they mentioned the Rebel Moon sequel, which they keep telling people watched, even though I think they had trouble selling the merchandise at a certain point, as well as the Beverly Hills Cop 4, which I think did have its sort of burst of attention and like people talking about the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, and like around July 4th, that was, I'm not trying to, like, I watched Beverly Hills Cop 2. I'd never seen it before. I didn't actually watch 4, but whatever. I watched one of them, and it did break through. But I think the ultimate thing is with this is one of the things with Netflix is that I was hearing a podcast, and it was the Slash Filmcast, and Ryan Airy does a great box office thing once a week, and he was talking about like the highest grossing movies of the year, and he was bringing up like Kung Fu Panda 4 and Despicable Me 4 and the money they made and how it kept making money and no one thought about it and all these things, and we'll get into box office a little later. But the thing with that is he's mentioning these 10 movies, and he's not mentioning a Netflix movie. Now, obviously, he's talking about box office, and Netflix isn't a part of that. But the problem what Netflix has done now is when you talk about the biggest movies of the year, do you look up the highest grossing, or do you look up the biggest movies in streaming? And I guarantee you, has anyone in the chat ever looked up like what are the biggest streaming movies of the year? Like when you see the list, it sort of like goes one ear and goes out the other. And I think Netflix is trying to sort of correct that and trying to make bigger, trying to pick certain genres and spend certain correctly and like do it right. And I do think like Knives Out 2, I think crossed over to a degree, and Stranger Things, the show does, but shows do better than movies, and I think they're trying to figure out how to do it. But because they are sort of big movies but separate from the rest of Hollywood in terms of release model, I honestly think it's hurt them. And supposedly Greta Gerwig wants a theatrical release because she's doing her Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and is really nervous about it, and a lot of people think she wants out of that deal. And I mean, she had a huge hit. Like, her next movie should go to theaters, and it is sort of like diluting her brand as a director to do this thing. So I think Netflix needs to really rethink some things, because I think they're noticing that you can make IP, but the like, Rebel Moon and stuff like that, but you have to make IP that like stays with people, or the IP is worthless. And I just don't think Cinerum says Dan Murrell shows the biggest streaming movies every week. Very informative. I didn't know that, so cheers to Dan Murrell. I have watched his box office thing. I like some of it, but then he gets into some of his chart stuff is not my style, but it is. I will recommend it to a degree. It's more of just a personal thing, not a. He does a good job. I wouldn't shit on that out. Anyway, cheers to you, Cinerum. Good. I didn't know that, so I will try to check that out. But we're seeing. Anyway, it's just like, I do think that information is available, but I think it's such a separate thing. It's made all these things separate, and also how they run these movies and like these directors alone has not necessarily benefited them. I do think there's certain things like The Irishman still gets talked about. Red Notice people still fucking hate. There's plenty of movies they make that people seem to like, but like their spending gets out of control. They even mentioned in the article that if they wanted to make another Red Notice, just to get the 3 stars, it would cost them over $100 million. So to me, it's like, it feels like a situation where they're spending a lot of money, but a lot of it is not resonating with people, which to me probably means no one's watching it past the release date and things like that. So I think they have to be a little smarter about who they're working with and the scripts they're approving and stuff like that, because in terms of a Hollywood studio, I can't think of a studio that like gets discussed less, and because so much of the discussion of movie stuff is box office and awards, and since I don't think the 2 movies I mentioned get any of those things, I think they need to figure out a way to keep themselves in the conversation, and you need to have a way to do it. So we'll see what's going on there. As well as I think the Daniel Craig story that No, it has good movies. They're good movies, but like we bring up Roma, but how often I never see a Roma reference other than that they made a prestige movie. Like I see Irishman reference, I see Stranger Things reference. I just think like and you might say like, oh, just a movie getting reference doesn't matter, but it really does, because you look at, I was thinking about, I'll guess it's Daniel Craig thing. I'm not ignoring it, by the way, but I will bring up like Scream is an interesting example, because I've seen, I think it's like two different Halloween specials where they reference the Jamie Kennedy's part in Scream about like, if you ever say you'll be right back, then you're gonna die and stuff like that. And I keep seeing that, and it's like, but that like keeps people. If you know that Scream, you're like, oh yeah, Scream, and then it's Halloween, you're gonna watch Scream again, or same what Scream did for Halloween. Like that's how I saw Halloween, and I do think those are important markers. And the fact that like you couldn't make a movie and make a Roma reference or a well, you can make a Bright reference because that'd be funny, but you could make it and you'd have a pleasant memory of like, I need to watch it again. But I'll say this: Rebel Ridge is a great movie. I hear everyone who sees it wants to talk about it, and I've been thinking about it since I saw it. So I think they just need to figure it out better. I think they need to publicize things better, not just on the app. Like there should be like more posters around, New York and stuff, but other places, like they need to have more of these people on like talk shows and podcasts and stuff like that, because it does feel like they're sort of not being a part of the conversation while thinking they're okay, and it's just like not really breaking through as much, and they need to do that. And the fact that they've recognized it's a problem, but also while recognizing it's a problem, they still rejected Harold and Purple Crown. So supposedly what happened is, when Knives Out 2 was playing in certain theaters and doing really well, Daniel Craig and after they got a standing ovation at the premiere and it was doing the theatrical rollout, Ted Sarando said it wasn't Netflix's business model to release it, even though everyone in the room knew it would be a hit. And then Daniel Craig replied like your model is fucked, basically, which is funny, but it's like he has a point. But at the same time, like I don't feel bad for Daniel Craig, Rian Johnson, and his producer, who I think each got like $20 million a piece. So it's like I do think like it points out how Knives Out 2 could have been big theatrically, but at the same time, is like y'all willingly signed a Netflix deal and made a fucking shit ton of money. Like it. So I don't really feel. I don't feel too bad for them personally, but I'm glad that they collected $20 million and then told Netflix their business model sucked. It's deeply entertaining to me. It is also interesting, I was thinking about this, is Daniel Craig, this is a side tangent, but so many in the 2000s were like, if Daniel Craig, it'll be harder for James Bond to keep him because he'll have other franchises, and those franchises that he's talking about were Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I think most people thought would be a franchise that didn't work out, and then the other one was Cowboys and Aliens. So entertaining to think of the past, but Knives Out is an actual thing. All right, so the new version, it's not a remake, of American Psycho from MGM, and is being worked on. We kind of sort of knew, or it's Lionsgate? I thought it was MGM. I thought MGM was involved in this. Now I'm looking at the article. It seems like, well, Lionsgate ain't doing well either. So, they're close to signing Luca Guadagnino to direct a new version of American Psycho. I kind of don't get, like, I think he could do a good job. It's just a really boring choice, to be honestly. Like, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it should be a female switch one, it should be this. To me, it's like, I don't think, like, I know people have this obsession with that material and that writer's work of that period, like Lesson Zero and American Psycho and stuff. I just am like, I don't know what you're going to do that's going to be any better or different. To me, it's like, at best, you're going to, like, meet it at the same level, and, like, what's the point, honestly? I think he can do it. I don't think he's a bad choice or anything. I'm just, like, sort of bored by the whole idea of it. It just doesn't really, I know Lionsgate needs hits, and that's an IP for them, and I'm sure the name alone, but it's like, I think to me it really matters who you're going to get to be the stars. Like, do you get like Glenn Powell, or I know there's been like fan casting, but you have to get a star to do that. And I don't know. It's also like not. I saw it like once and I was like, okay, and like it's not a big movie to me. Honestly, it's like not. It's kind of like, okay. The thing at the end I think was the most interesting thing about it. But like someone doing messed up stuff with like Huey Lewis music is like, I mean, okay, I guess. I don't know. It's not like a major movie for me. But I am sort of totally bored by this decision. One thing we did, okay, to clear up some Lord of the Rings stuff before we get into, I think it'll be like superhero stuff, right? Sorry, I'm looking at, we'll do superhero. Okay, that's, sorry, I'm bouncing around. So Lord of the Rings, we heard from Ian McKellen, said that they're going to do because we know they're making Lord of the Rings Hunt for Gollum, and we learned that Ian McKellen said they're going to do it's going to be 2 parts, and everyone was like rolling their eyes like, Jesus, what is wrong with you guys? Philippa Boyens cleared this up at New York Comic Con, I believe, and said, okay, hold on. William Owen said the only reason to make American Psycho would be to make an NC-17 version closer to the book, which won't happen because they need to make money. I will talk about something about that later, actually, but you might be wrong about that. In a post-Terrifier 3 world, but I don't know, maybe that brings up an interesting point. What does studio let them? Well, I'll talk about that. I actually have a point to talk about unrated NC-17 a little later because of Terrifier 3 has brought that conversation on, so, which is interesting. Anyway, cheers to you, William Owen, and thank you for the super chat. Okay, to clear up the Hunt for Gollum thing, supposedly Philippa Boyens says they're developing 2 live-action movies. They believe at this time Gandalf will be involved in both, so she explains like that's probably where the confusion comes from. But at the same time, it sounds like the second one is not as far along, so like at this time Gandalf's involved, but like that can fucking change, obviously. So basically it's sort of like we knew they're developing other live action Lord of the Rings movies. They still are. Hunt for Gollum is just going to be one movie. Hey Gary, how's it going? So there's no part 2 at this time, and Philippa Boyens helped write the original Lord of the Rings trilogy and those fucking Hobbit movies, but whatever. I also learned from reading through the War of Chapel Roan, maybe, I don't know. But they're that a lot of the same people and artists and people who've worked on Lord of the Rings through all the other stuff worked on the animated movie, which makes me excited. I'm actually really into the idea because, as I said before, the Lord of the Rings I grew up with as a kid were the animated ones, and I mean, and you know, those books or whatever, but like the animated ones. So I'm like, yeah, let's bring that back. That's my nostalgia for fucking Lord of the Rings. I was in college when those Elijah Wood things came out. It was like I was already past gone at that point. But like when there's a whip, there's a way comes on. That slaps. Damn it. That's so stupid. I realized it was whatever. Anyway, all right. So let's talk about comic book stuff, and then we'll I need to go through the Terrifiers. I'm like, man, I'm missing out. I need to watch some Terrifier movies. It sounds like. All right. So Blade has been removed from the release calendar from Disney. It was going to come out on November 17th, 2025. And it has been taken just completely off the release calendar. In its place, Predator Badlands. This makes sense to me because Predator Badlands is actually in production and it's sort of becoming a bigger brand. I noticed Disney's doing a lot of cool things with Alien and Predator lately. I will get to the Alien Romulus VHS. Don't worry, there's cool things about that. But I think it is funny because the story I was told by a teacher in film school who worked at New Line, because I was like, it's sort of random, because he was talking to us about New Line and its history, and of course I asked him John Waters questions, and they're like, John Waters was cool, and they would just really, it wasn't, anyway. But one time we were just talking, he was telling us stories about New Line, and he told us that the reason Blade got made is, and I think this is known, like everyone's saying it's like because of this stoned executive, but I'll tell you the story, and I've heard it from another guy who worked at New Line too, so I think it's sort of out there. I'm not revealing anything, but that it was basically Bob Shea liked to smoke weed with certain executives, and this one who also liked to smoke weed was a huge fan of the comic Blade, because it was sort of a random thing at the time. Even the comic books weren't promoting him, which is funny. So it's like this guy just really liked Blade, and he heard Wesley Snipes would have done Blade, and so this stone executive guy is why that got fucking made. So it's funny that like the MCU has all this infrastructure and success, and like, you know, Bob Shea's weed smoking buddy was the reason the original Blades happened, and they can't get Blade to be made. It's funny to me. I think they're overthinking it. A few people online have suggested that Mahershala Ali is the problem. Some people said Feige. We don't fucking know. There was one theory that I think I replied to on Twitter that was basically they're waiting to see how Sinners does before they work on a Blade movie, and they want Coogler to do it. I'm sure they've asked Coogler. It seems like if Coogler wants X-Men or Blade or Black Panther 3, it's sort of like his call on that one. So I'm sure I'm fairly confident he's probably been offered those at some point, but it is ridiculous that this has gotten delayed so much that we're talking about like this was announced in 2019 when you put on the hat and stuff, and we're talking about 2020, you know, at this point, could it be 2026, 2027? I just don't understand how it was not the executive like giant robot spiders. That's an older executive. I don't know who the guy executive was. I just know he was friends with Bob's. That guy was making Wild West while this other Stone guy was much younger at New Line. But I still think Oz Rodriguez, who did Vampires vs. the Bronx, is the best choice. I think possibly a lot of people said they're aiming for directors too high and they need to just get a good genre guy, and maybe Mahershala Ali is not the good producer choice to get just a genre guy. That I don't disagree with, because he's just not known for that. I mean, that's not a crazy, I don't think that's a crazy theory, regardless of there's nothing to back it up actually. But although they haven't hired genre people, I think it's like they need to get a guy who can just like an obvious guy to make a Blade movie. I don't think Chad Stahelski or David Leitch would do it. I sort of don't think they just hire the obvious people, but at this point, it's like, I mean, David Leitch could use a win, so I don't know. I'd be curious to read a huge book on what the fuck is going on. I feel like somebody's holding it up, but it's like, is it Feige? Is it Mahershala? Is it an executive whose name I don't know about? I hope it happens for him. I mean, I know he sort of came to them and they didn't, it seems like, have a plan for it, and I think that's like come back to haunt everybody since, but it is removed from the release calendar. It doesn't sound like Disney is going to be involved in this in a while, and I mean, I don't think he's just going to make an appearance in like the Infinity whatever the, you know, Infinity, or Secret Wars or something. So yeah, all right, so we'll just do a Marvel chunk and then a DC chunk, basically. And then there's a Christopher Nolan thing. We'll talk about Christopher Nolan after box office. I don't know how many people. Is there a big Christopher Nolan group in my viewership? I don't. Anyway, there is some interesting Christopher Nolan stuff. But Spider-Man 4, we've learned Tom Holland sounds very positive about the script. He's like, I'm just, you know, I'm so happy with the script. He does get more say, obviously, after. I think he's appeared as Spider-Man more than anybody, and once he's done 4, he's definitely been in more Spider-Man movies, but obviously with Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame, I think he has more screen time as Spider-Man than anybody else, right? I feel like that's probably true, but it does sound like the fight with Sony and Marvel is Marvel wants a more grounded one and Sony wants a bigger, crazier one, which to me it's like you can't really do that again. I do think this is something that I wish studios would be like, I wish studios would be like, oh, we did this crazy big, like we got all these people together, what do we do with the franchise next? And they're like, let's go even bigger. And you're like, no, that's stupid. Like, you have to build to that, like start building the next one. And I've noticed studios don't ever want to do that, but it feels like they're trying to be smart about it. But supposedly Tom Holland is fighting back to a certain degree, but we'll see what happens there. We also learned that a Silver Sable movie, which there was originally a different Silver Sable movie in the 2010s, and then that didn't happen, and supposedly Sony is sort of actively developing a new one. A lot of people are surprised because Madam Web bombed, and of course, like, studios are like, but women movie bomb. I don't know. It's not that it was horrible or anything. I think what the Sony non-Spider-Man, whatever it is, I think Venom is an exception because Venom has been on t-shirts like almost my entire life, and like Venom doesn't go away, whereas all these other characters are like villain in Spider-Man movie, comic, whatever. And I just don't see, Madam Web and Craven and Morbius being these big things. But a lot of people are saying, well, you could do Silver Sable and just be like, hey, it's a cool girl spy movie and get away with that. And it's like, I guess, but no one's attached. But apparently that is the next thing they're going to be doing. That's all we sort of know. We also know that Daredevil, sorry, I don't know why I said that so weird. Daredevil Born Again is coming out March 4th on Disney+. Now for the DC stuff, we learned Crypto, the Superdog, which we sort of knew, but we got a picture of with him and Superman looking at the Earth, is going to be in the Superman movie, or just Superman, and that they're going to take a more positive approach with the marketing. I think this makes a lot of sense because it seems like a lot of people are, it feels like culturally, and I hope with the election, people are embracing positivity a lot more than they used to, and I think Superman's a character that can work with that very well. I also think like it's fucking Superman, and he's a character that is like universal and generational, and he's just like the whole dark Superman thing just doesn't work for like what makes the character huge. He's huge because he's just like this Superman. Now he's just like, he has to be, that's all part of his thing. That's why My Adventures with Superman works as well as it does. It's just really perfect in that. And to me, it's like that's a positive thing that they are doing that. And I'm cool with scripts of the Superdog. A lot of people are complaining about all the characters. But I just don't think, I don't know. I'm kind of curious how James Gunn does it, but there does seem to be quite a few characters, and I've noticed more people talking about their problems with that. We also got a Creature Commandos trailer. I thought it was cool. This is going to be the first swing of the new James Gunn thing that's coming out later this year. That's the kickoff of it. I forgot that it's called the DCU. I didn't remember that. I forgot, and I was like, oh, that's weird. It looks good, but the animation is a little stiff. It looks stiffer than X-Men 97, which I kind of, I don't know. I wasn't super into, but they look like a cool bunch of characters. It's a neat way to kick it off. I like that he's showing that there's all sorts of weird and funky things. It's like, what I like about this, and what supposedly James Gunn is doing is like, let's lean into how weird and strange the DC stuff is, which I think is like one of the things when the MCU started was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing comic in movie. And this is like, he's thinking of it in a smarter way. It's like, we haven't really seen what DC is in the movieverse. We always see like DC through, either Richard Donner or Zack Snyder or Bryan Singer or whomever's lens. And his lens is like, well, let me just do DC as a movie. And I think that's reflected so far. Okay. One thing before I go to box office is the director of Godzilla -1, which is coming back to theaters soon. A couple of people wanted me to talk about that. Good for that. If you haven't seen it in theaters, I recommend it. But he said he wants to do Godzilla vs. Ghidorah from 1971. He says, I think that for its time, Ghidorah was very cutting-edge kaiju. Thinking about the type of visual expression we can do with technology and how far it's come today, I imagine how it would move, and I think that would be a really cool remake. I actually, I agree to a point, and because that is the, for here, it's Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, is also one of the many titles those movies have, but it's environmental Godzilla movie, and it's a strange movie, and part of me does not want like a normal cut and dry movie version of that. Like that sort of sounds like it sucks. So I like how strange it is. Like I watched it with my daughter, and like the whole like the song where it's like save the earth, save the earth. Like we still joke about that because it was a weird. It's definitely a weird Godzilla movie. So I think he's smart enough of a director. Like I'd be fine like if it's just a solid Godzilla movie and it's just a regular sort of thing. But like if you're not going to do the strange thing, like just like I get the environmental part, and like that's really good for a Godzilla movie, and it shows that Godzilla is like kind of this roving metaphor of a thing, and it can take on various different ideas and stuff like that. But at the same time, I like it when it's fucking weird. So I would be disappointed if he normies it out. Basically, I don't think that should happen to Hedorah. I think or the Smog Monster, but we'll see. All right, let's talk about box office. But yeah, that's like a weird. I don't know. It's kind of just interesting. Like, why would you? Like, I think it actually like ages in the right way that you'd want to remake it. But if you watch it, it feels like a 70s movie. So I think that would be the part. But I think like make it weird again and have the silly songs and like have all the cool stuff. You know what I mean? I think you got to have that if you're going to do it. I think it's like part of what makes that movie so memorable. You don't want to, mess up the vibe of that just because it would be, I guess, more commercial to do it that way. Sounds a little interesting. Oh, William Ellman with Super says, I just don't want Godzilla to turn the hero that is always super duper lame always. Yeah, I don't really want that. I don't really want that either. Super duper. I mean, I think you can mess with. He wasn't super duper lame in -1, but I'm curious if he means that would be the -1 follow-up, which I kind of don't want that to be, but it sounds like from that quote, maybe it would be. But cheers to you, William Ellman. Sorry, my voice is my tongue. You get away to it. All right, sorry. That wasn't a making fun of it. That was a tongue in my mouth joke. All right, cheers to you, William Ellman. And Susan Ram said, let's not normie it out. Cheers to you. I will say when I was learning more about Godzilla, a lot of people who like Godzilla would bring up that one as an example of what Godzilla can represent more and not just be, it's not just dumb monster stuff, it actually represents something. And I do think that is one of the prime examples of that. So, but yeah, I guess, that would be the problem if you're going to do a -1 thing, is in the Hedorah one, Godzilla is sort of like helping the humans. And like, I can't imagine the -1 Godzilla being like, hey, humanity, I'm going to save you guys with your atomic bombs and shit. Like, I just like, you'd have to explain that. So anyway, but it is a smart idea. It is a smart idea to remake that. And I don't think it's not. All right. So, wait, what? No, not weekly. Fucking. Who wants to look at the weekly box? You fucking box office mojo. All right. Sorry. The box office. So, a lot of interesting things, and I am going to talk about the unrated thing, but let's sort of like go in a little bit of the order. Smile 2, which I have actually seen Smile 1. I didn't review it, which I regret. I do want to see Smile 2. It looks like a lot of fun. It opened at number 1 with $23 million in 3,000. Maybe I'll do the smaller ones, then I'll get into the Terrifier thing. Did very well in 3,000 screens. Nice per screen average. I think it was a little bit higher budget than the original, which I think helps the shows what Paramount is doing with their franchises. I've noticed their horror things like A Quiet Place the budgets never got ballooned too much. It's interesting, like when we're talking about like the Sonys, we're talking about like the Paramounts and other studios, how a lot of them are making little smarter, some of them are making better financial decisions, which I quite like. But I do want to see Smile 2 like quite a lot. I don't know. Wild Robot is still at number 2. Was number 2 last week. Continues at number 2, although it dropped only 27.9%, which I think in the top 10 is the Yeah, that's the smallest drop. There's still reports that people are buying tickets to The Wild Robot and seeing The Terrifier 3. My question, a lot of people brought this up, and it's not a dumb question, is now that everything's assigned seating, like um how do you like do that exactly? Like how do you how are you sure, like do you have to move seats a lot? Like if Terrifier 3 is sold out, like are you sitting on the floor? Like how are you for sure? I know some people do the thing where they'll go to Fandango and see what seats are open and move and stuff. So maybe they're doing that. I would like if any of the teens, I don't think like I've seen my viewership, it's not a lot of teens. If there are any teens watching who did this, I'm curious. I'm very curious about the logistics. Trust me, it's interesting. I don't know about the Smile is It Follows. It's not as good as It Follows, but it was still good. It was still interesting. My only thing with Smile, my only criticism, is I thought there's a part in it where someone notices the smile thing, and I thought it was sort of a metaphor for trauma, and it sort of leaves that, whereas It Follows like never breaks the metaphor, and Smile is like, no, it's an evil force. It's like a ghost or whatever the fuck. Anyway, is it the new Barbenheimer? No, because they saw both those movies. I think they're just doing it. Wild Robot also is interesting. I mean, this brings up a bigger thing that people keep complaining about the PVOD thing, and two of the movies in the top 5, which are The Wild Robot and Beetlejuice, are on PVOD and are still doing well. Like, Beetlejuice only fell 31%, which is not a lot, or 31.7, so 32, I guess. But it's like these two films are just like continuing to play. I think part of that is Wild Robot, like I've heard a lot of families going together, like people are taking their kids. Like that's almost a part of the experience is, did you lose me? I think I'm still here. No, I don't know, man. I'm sorry about that, Al Vasquez. So I think part of it is people are like, oh, we want to go out and go see Beetlejuice. Like, you don't want to just like pay the $20 or whatever when it's on first on DVD and stuff. And same with like Wild Robot, because you want to go with like kids and families and stuff. So I do think that is making the difference there. There seems to be a discussion in the box office analyst thing where Scott Mendelson, who's kind of like the GOAT of all box office analysts, has brought up that he can't find the data that shows that these films are declining. It's sort of helping them. I agree to a point. But the other thing is, like, we don't know what those numbers are. We do know that the studio gets like a bigger percentage of the PVOD, so it like doesn't matter if it's like way less people, are they still making back the money? Because we don't know how much they're making. Like, we don't know how much Beetlejuice, like, we can see where it is on the chart, but not the numbers attached to that chart. So, but in those two cases, it seems to be doing fine. But I would argue both, like, a family movie, people are like, what do I do with the kids this Saturday? Oh, we'll go to The Wild Robot. And there's people who like, oh, I love Beetlejuice, I'll see it. And not to like shit on my age group, but we're getting older, and older audiences take longer to see movies. Just a fact. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. And Nightmare Before Christmas, which didn't do especially well per screen wise, it actually did kind of bad, is still in the top 10. Henry Selick continues to do it, and Hocus Pocus, the release, is doing well, as well as The Substance. The other, hold on. William Owen says, I love St. Louis because we have many privately owned independent theaters that refuse to reserve seating. Awesome. I don't love reserve seating. I like when you get there early and you pick. I don't really love the reserve seating, to be honest. So, cheers to you, Willie Melvin. Cheers to St. Louis. Cheers to everybody. The other box office thing that is worth, the Terrifier thing is sort of a more interesting, larger conversation. So Deadpool, if you read the thing that Deadpool and Wolverine passed Barbie in terms of box office this week, and you're probably like, wait, how did that happen? There's actually a reason it happened. It's because Joker 2 flopped, which Joker 2 fell 69.3%, which is the biggest of the top 10 and one of the biggest, although My Hero Academia fell pretty hard too. But because that fell and it lost 1,200 theaters, a lot of theater owners were ditching Joker because they had empty screens, and they put it in other things like, like Terrifier 3 actually and other stuff, but they did also put in they also put in Deadpool and Wolverine, which actually added 500 screens, and those 500 screens actually gave them more money. They didn't decline that much. It only declined 16%. So I don't know why I bring up the percentages of decline and ad and stuff, but so it actually it helped it have the more screens, and I think people were like, oh, I'll see Deadpool and Wolverine. That actually helped Deadpool and Wolverine cross. So the failure of Joker 2 helped Deadpool and Wolverine make more money. This seems to happen a lot with movies that come out in late July, August, because they're sort of just there and people keep seeing them. I kind of think if you're going to pick a summer release date, end of July, early August is the better one, which we saw with Spider-Man Homecoming and Guardians of the Galaxy previously, and we're seeing with this. So that's why it ended up benefiting from the failure of Joker 2, which is ridiculous, but that's how it happened. We also got Pan's stream went down. Sorry, Pan. Anora had an insane per screen average, 91,000 per screen average, which is one of the biggest in the post-pandemic era, making 500,000 in only 6 theaters, which is insane. So good for Anora. I think that's okay. So Terrifier 3. What's going on with Terrifier 3? It's made $36 million, and why this is a big deal is Terrifier 3 is unrated. Now this brings in a whole conversation because unrated films never make this kind of money, and NC-17 theaters never make that money. But the reason this film can succeed now and versus like you're like, well, why couldn't this have happened before? Before, a lot of these films relied on 2 things that are not relevant at all anymore, which is what kept NC-17 unrated films from being released. Because part of the promotion for most movies was TV ads, which I don't think matter to most people watching this right now. I'm just going to... maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're like, I rely on TV ads for all my product choices. And newspaper ads. And most newspapers wouldn't put an ad for an NC-17 unrated thing. And TV wouldn't play an unrated NC-17 thing till very late at night on a broadcast TV thing. In fact, that's actually why Silent Night, Deadly Night got into trouble, because they accidentally played the ad during what was at the time called the family hour at 8 o'clock. So the fact that that is now not relevant anymore and doesn't matter to studios means a film like this was going to happen eventually because of the way media consumption has changed over the years. So like when Showgirls came out, that was the model then. So it was harder. They had to like rely on like, hopefully Jay Leno will make references to it in the monologue or whatever, but they can't really play Showgirls ads during Friends at the time. So without those things, there's no reason Terrifier 3, hey Zane Powers, Terrifier 3 or an unrated film couldn't hit number 1 anymore. And so it finally happened. So a lot of people are wondering, will the studios take advantage of that? I don't think so yet, but I do think if you're an independent producer, you're looking at the success of Terrifier 3 and going, I can do this if I market it correctly and build the audience correctly. And we are going to see. So this is like actually a pretty, like Terrifier 3, I know people, like the theaters before, a lot of the chains wouldn't play this sort of thing to the amount it is. But in a post-COVID world, where they need just money coming in, they honestly don't give a shit. And then the other two things that held it back are just like a studio's not gonna turn down a movie because they can't put it on during a big 8 o'clock TV show or can't advertise in newspapers. From what was it, Tarot, when I was talking about, which was all digital ads, like it just, the thing that was holding this back from happening just isn't a thing anymore. And I think it's just set up that this would happen at some point, and Terrifier 3 is the one to do it. I think that's honestly pretty amazing. So I think we will probably see at some point in the next year or two another really violent unrated horror film getting up there. I guess the NC-17 thing will be different because it is obviously pretty high rating. I'm curious if you could do that, but I think you could, unless Donald Trump wins. I guess we won't be getting that. But if he doesn't, I think that could happen, and this sets up that for happening. Because movie studios and movie producers work on precedent, and the precedent now is that this can make money, that this kind of thing can make money, and that's honestly amazing. So the Terrifier thing kind of changes a lot in terms of that, and especially for indie horror. If you're an indie horror filmmaker and you have a good unrated movie, I don't think they should feel as down about, like, being like, I guess we'll just send it to Shudder. There's a little bit more of a window of success. I 100% think someone in the next year will take advantage of what has been set up here, but I also think the Terrifier films have been building, and also I think there is a thing of people like, what did you see? I'm like, well, I saw Terrifier, and it's gory and shit. I think people like that as audiences. I think people like going I saw the junky gory horror movie. So, Jim, your fave movie that actually is an NC-17, Sin Ram. Well, so what's tricky about this? I guess there's some X movies like Midnight Cowboy and Last Tango and stuff that's actually NC-17. First off, cheers to you, Sin Ram. Maybe it is Showgirls, although I've only seen it late at night when I was messed up, so I sort of I don't count that. Hold on, NC-17 movies. Let me look here. Oh, it says it's gonna call my parents. Damn it. The Evil Dead. Oh well, that wins then. Let me. Dirty Shames. Clerks is in here. Supposedly Clerks is R, but it's saying it is. I guess a Dirty Shame. Pink Flamingo was sort of X, but not. There's Beyond the Valley of the Dolls in there. I'd probably be one of those. Yeah, let's just go with Evil Dead or Dirty Shame or Showgirls. I never saw Blue's the Warmest Color. Shame is good. Shame is good also. So, let's say a Dirty Shame probably. So not X. Yeah, if it was X, I'd say Midnight Cowboy though. But all right. Let's go back. Kind of running out of time, but okay. So before we get into Christopher Nolan, there's this kind of interesting thing about J.J. Abrams and the film he's working on. Supposedly, so how this kind of came up when people started discussing it is he took a picture with The Rock, and they had lunch or something. They had a meal, and people were surprised. So we know that Glenn Powell and Jenna Ortega, are attached to this, but supposedly it's sort of a Last Starfighter thing, and from what the rumors are, and these are very much rumors, I will 100% say that, is sort of basically, it's written by Zach Penn, who did X-Men and helped with Ready Player One, and supposedly the next J.J. Abrams movie is about this sort of there's this author who's writing his last book, and you can go into the book, and it's a fantasy thing, and this kid is picked to go into the fantasy world, but Glenn Powell goes instead. This sounds I don't know. It's sort of like Last Starfighter, and Jenna Ortega is the princess, and supposedly, Glenn Powell is going to go into this fantasy world and find this book, and no one's sure what The Rock's doing here, and almost everyone said it's sort of feels like a script from the 80s. And several executives in the rumors have said that it feels like J.J. Abrams hasn't seen a movie since the 90s, which to me is that could be a good thing. I don't know, but supposedly it's sort of a Last Starfighter fantasy thing, and The Rock might be involved, but I don't know. We'll see about that. But supposedly there is some movement on this next J.J. Abrams thing. I think for me, I think J.J. Abrams I think The Rise of Skywalker was sort of a fucking disaster, to be totally honest with you. It's he really biffed that. And as much as I think his direction in copyright, what? I don't know what he's talking about. I think his direction in Force Awakens was good, but I also think he had an entire studio on his side. And I don't know. I think he has a lot to prove if he makes a good movie. I think his legacy will be better, but it's I think the Super 8 sort of flopping and Stranger Things sort of taking its place there. I think he has good ideas, but to me, it's if you want to continue this legacy and not just be the sort of Lost Felicity guy who directed a few reboots. I think he really has to nail this. So he is like more online. And The Rock, like if they knock it out of the park, I think he could, but we'll see. Anyway, so let's talk about the Christopher Nolan thing because there's a lot going on there. There's only a few things, then we'll take a break. So Tom Holland, and this has been confirmed, by the way, Tom Holland confirmed he did get a call from Christopher Nolan, and he has been cast in whatever the fuck this next movie is. No one knows. But there is a next Christopher Nolan movie. We do know that. Matt Damon's involved. Tom Holland's involved. Are they father and son? Are they two people in a movie? That seems confirmable. But what the relationship is in the movie, who the fuck knows? However, supposedly, and this is sort of confirmed, is Christopher Nolan, and this is, I think the older people in the audience will, not to call anyone out, but we'll get this. Supposedly, it is about a super advanced high-tech helicopter, and this is a more confirmed thing, that he's working with the NYPD's aviation division, and Nolan is, and it's about a super advanced helicopter that has all this amazing technology in it, and the terrorists want this amazing helicopter technology. If you didn't know, this is sort of close to Blue Thunder, which apparently Christopher Nolan has been sending people high quality versions of Blue Thunder, which is this junky helicopter movie that Roy Schneider I think only did so he couldn't be in Jaws 3. Like he intentionally was in this movie. He's like, I better book a movie or I'm gonna be fucking stuck with Jaws 3. So he did Blue Thunder. That's to me what Blue Thunder's always been. But that's why I saw it. I was like, I heard he didn't do Jaws 3. He did this movie so he wouldn't be in Jaws 3. What is this movie? And that's how I saw it. And it was a show that Dana Carvey was in later. But yeah, supposedly that's it. It is not a vampire movie. I don't know why people think it's a vampire movie. That's not a Nolan thing, but it's supposedly a spy thing with some high tech. That's where everyone's leaning now. The fact that I don't know if this rumor is true or not, but I love that like Christopher Nolan's like, no, get me the 4K version of Blue Thunder. I remember it's like a super high tech helicopter and they want to do something nefarious with it. And then at one point early in the movie, Roy Schneider and whoever else is in it, I don't fucking know, I don't remember, use the helicopter to like watch a lady change, and she's like sort of into it. The 80s were something else, man. I don't know. Like, I still remember that, but I was like, they definitely got in trouble, and like we have this like hugely expensive helicopter, and you're like watching ladies in their windows, and like, well, did she complain? I remember they said something like, she complained. I'm like, well, no, she didn't complain, but her fucking neighbors complained. Helicopters are loud. Like, also helicopters are like super invasive. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, sorry. Could he do a movie with both vampires and helicopters? Whoa. Slow your roll, Jordan Salafo. A movie with vampires and helicopters? The fuck you think this is? There's some things even Christopher Nolan can't do, alright? Whoa. No, I don't know, but anyway, if you've seen Blue Thunder, check out a trailer and you'll get why I think it's funny, but I don't know if this is true or not, but we do know Tom Holland and Matt Damon are in this movie. Good for Tom Holland. A few people have said he doesn't have... Blue Thunder did have silent mode? Oh, wow, I do not remember this shit at all. I really was like, I need to watch this because, what's it? Man, what is always with Surf Dracula movie? Oh, I remember, it's the Surf Dracula tweet. I love that tweet. All right, let's do a few things. So supposedly we all heard that Denis Villeneuve was not going to on a slideshow. Oh man, what is going on with the internet sometimes? That sort of sucks. What was I gonna say? The blood copter. I love it. Hopefully the internet gets a little. I'm sort of. No, but it's a little better. Sorry about that. I don't know. All right. What was I gonna say? Oh, so we learned that the next Dune movie, Dune Messiah, is actually going into production a lot sooner than we thought. A lot of people thought he was going to wait, since it takes place like 10 years after Dune Part 2, that he would wait a little bit, and it seems like Warner Brothers are like, nah, never mind, let's make this thing. We do know that and Denis Villeneuve has said this, that he's going to go back at it again. Supposedly December 18th, 2026 has a release date for an event Denis Villeneuve film. Which to me, it's like, I don't know if that means there's going to be a Dune movie. I mean, that's like it's not like the Blade thing. Like when you have like one of those like placeholder release dates, it's sort of like, I mean, yeah, sure. But supposedly they are going to try to shoot this sort of soon. I'm curious, like Zendaya has a pretty intense schedule, so I don't know about all those things, but we'll see. But supposedly we're going to be getting Dune Messiah as Denis Villeneuve's next movie. He's not going to be doing something else unless he shot something between now and Dune Part 2, which I didn't hear about that. Okay. All right, a few things, and then I should finish by 12:10. Let's do that. All right. The Roman Polanski settled a lawsuit. This was not the famous case that he fled the country for. This is a different time he raped a minor, I guess, in 1973. This case was settled out of court, and so it is gone. Not much there to say about it. It was kind of surprising he was able to settle it. It was able to be done because of some law loophole at the time in California. But I do think, I don't know, the one thing that I always find odd about the whole Polanski thing people don't bring up enough is the original case. He was actually doing a photo. He was paid by Vogue to do a photo shoot of a minor, which is becoming more like in vogue, of like shooting very young teen girls and like various undress and stuff. That was actually very popular in the 70s. If you look at Brooke Shields and Baby Doll and various other things, but yeah, that's the part of that story I always find really fucked up. Like that's, anyway, not that gave him a reason or something. I always find that to be like when I re-heard about this story when I was older, I'm like, what do you mean he's on a photo shoot for Vogue? Anyway, I always found that to be like, what the fuck, society? It's just, whoa. Not the 70s room. This is a separate thing. And I mean, Polanski was sort of a pile of shit. Like, people sort of forget, like, he sort of sucked as a person. And as a director, man, he made the last movie I saw from him was, like, real bad. In his Oliver Twist, and I don't know. The Ghost Rider, that's fine. Anyway. All right. I saw Peter Griffin on Hot Ones. It was funny. I like when I watch something animated, and I can tell they're like, look, we gotta save some time here. And they had him go into the bathroom and just shot the door of the bathroom. It's like, hey man, we all want to have lunch, so I get it. But yeah, smart. It was cute. I thought it was funny. It was fun. I like the that Hot Ones is willing to do the cartoon character thing, but like I got it. One of the Looney Tunes has got to do it. It's got, to me, it's Bugs or Taz, like Daffy maybe, but it's got to be one of those. So Alien Romulus is going to release a VHS on a VHS version of Alien Romulus on December 3rd. It is actually going to be, and this is amazing for me, it's going to be in 4:3. That is amazing. Like, if you're going to make a VHS version of Alien Romulus, I love that it's in 4:3. That is, oh, chef's kiss. That is perfect. I love it. It's apparently, they mentioned it's going to be a fully functioning VHS. So I have a working VCR. It's all hooked up. So if I get this, I can totally watch it anytime. We can test this out. I'm curious, like, what are the previews going to be? Like, are they going to make, like, 80s, 90s kind of previews? Like, what are they going to do? I have a lot of questions about this VHS, but it's going to be in 4:3 and it's going to be fully functioning. I think that's actually a lot of fun. I've seen a few people have actually asked me, I think Austin maybe asked me this, and I've heard other people bring it up as well, actually. How come a regular show couldn't do Laserdisc, but other people want to do VHS? There are still VHS companies, so I think that's why there are no Laserdisc companies at all. So, but yeah, it's going to be pan scan 4:3, fully functioning VHS. So sounds like just like a fun vintage sort of gift. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be. It sounds fun. It's kind of a cute idea, but I do think like you don't want the letter. But why would you want the letterbox? You want the pan and scan 4:3. Love it. Let's just do the few Oscar things. Buzz I want to talk about is it seems like whatever this movie September 5th about the coverage of the Olympics hostage situation. That seems to be everybody's pick of like. What the big Oscar movie is going to be. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because I haven't seen it. I also am like subject matter wise, I'm not super into that, and it hasn't even really been released. So I think it's like just a bunch of hype bullshit right now. If it can back up that's hype bullshit, that's fine. I also see a lot of support for Wild Robot. Hollywood Reporter and other Oscar prognosticators have Wild Robot getting into Best Picture and not Inside Out 2, which I find to be like, I don't know about that, but like, hey, good. I mean, Wild Robot and Chris Sanders probably needs it more than Pixar, but, and even saying Wild Robot will win Best Animated Feature, which I just don't believe that. But, those are just two Oscar things that I thought I'd bring up because I thought they were kind of interesting. But yeah, if you want to try to see it, it will at least be a big Oscar movie. So, I would say look out for that. William, be honest, do you think paying new movie prices for a VHS is crazy? First off, cheers to you, William, and thank you for your generosity tonight. I do think that, but I think like the idea of it makes it enough of an experience that it's worth it, but I do agree that it's a little, it does feel a little on the sillier side, but if you're really into the Alien movies and you grew up with them on VHS, like it'd be a fun Christmas, like it'd legitimately be a fun thing. But yeah, if you're paying like the same price as a Blu-ray, it's a little silly. But I guess it's like the point is you're getting this specifically. You're getting this specific thing. And I think it's more made for big fans. I think Alien has those kind of fans, so it makes sense. All right. All right, so the few trailers I want to talk about. The Brutalist trailer. I have no clue what this movie is about from this trailer, but it was a good like teaser kind of thing. It shows images. They did the text in a cool way. It was a kind of innovative, interesting, like arty trailer kind of trailer. I know this is another big Oscar movie. It made me excited for it. I was like, post World War II is an interesting period because there was a bit of a depression. Actually, we don't talk about that enough. An economic depression afterwards. People were a little lost in those later 40s. So I think that is a more interesting time than it gets credit for. So that could be interesting. I saw the Wolfman trailer, which I thought I'd done last week, but didn't. Everything from the Wolfman looks really cool. I love the kind of infection kind of idea of it. There's also, I sense like a sort of abusive dad, sort of scenario type of thing, but it looks really, really good. The whole Invisible Man thing, again, that was like the days of 2020 before the pandemic kind of thing, but I do love how they're reinventing these Universal monster stories for a modern age. I think are really good. I want to see them do like the other ones, but we'll see. But every trailer I've been impressed with. And then the last trailer is Love Hurts, which is the Kiwi Kwan action movie. I like that it's him and what's her name from West Side Story, and even I saw a Sean whatever his name is from Lord of the Rings, Samwise, in a little bit of a cameo. It was a nice little Goonies reunion. But he, I should reiterate, like I've heard people say, oh, of course he has to be an action thing. Like he did fight choreography for Jet Li, like he did the X-Men movie. He's very well accomplished actually. So like actually I was like, yeah, I think he could do a good job. It looked like he was doing a good job. It looks like a fun February movie. Like I'm generally excited. I'm actually more into the beginning of next year than like the end of this year. It seems like between like Mickey 17 and this and Wolfman and stuff, it just feels like a Sean Astin. I'm sorry. Been a long is it Patton Oswalt? Was it Patton Oswalt? Was it not Sean Astin? I thought it was Sean Astin. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, Either way, Amber DeBose, whatever her name is. Anyway, it looked like a really fun movie. I was like, this looks fun to me. I would see him do more action stuff, but the fact that like he's not just a random dude doing action movie, like he actually has, when I made that like other jobs he worked, like he is an accomplished dude. Like I think he should get his big starring vehicle, like, and especially with an action thing. Like you don't like do fight choreography for Jet Li, and I know it was 25 years ago, but he's still like he did it. So, all right, I should definitely take a break. Then we are going to do Betty Boop for President from 1932. So I don't think you'll have enough time to watch it, but you could watch the beginning of it, and then we'll do questions. I hope to end around 12:40. Oh, now I'm going to need to link my tweet explaining what? Now I'm lost. I can't read that tonight, but I'll read it later. But I'm very confused, Cornbread. Anyway, sorry sometimes YouTube's a little funky, but anyway, I'll be right back. Then we'll talk about Betty Boop. Hold on, I'm gonna load that. Oh, you know what? I can load that. I'll be right. Let me. Sorry. Let me get this all ready. If you. What? Why is bumper 2 always... It's so weird. It always like does this thing where it's like the second bumper always gets weird with me. Anyway, alright, well, we're doing the one where you eat popcorn. Because for whatever reason, the second bumper always gets lost. Should check that before. Anyway, I'll be right back. I'm just going to use the bathroom, and then we will do Betty Boop for President. Enjoy the meeting popcorn one. Thank you again, Ace the Wind Writer, for making it. And I will be right back after this. Okay. I am back. I don't know why that bumper... Anyway, the second bumper, for whatever reason on my computer, always switches. Hello, how's it going? Unconnects itself. And I don't know, I need to reorganize some things. Hoping to do that. Well, there's no stream. I kind of want to re-figure out some stuff. Anyway. Let's, oh, it's loose there. Okay. Let's talk about, since it is election time, I guess. And yeah, if anyone wants to do a, what? That's weird. Okay, if anyone wants to do a super chat, I guess this is the home stretch, as we say, if you would like to. I'm just going to drink this just because I need the energy. All right. I think this would actually come out the Monday before the election is the plan. I was almost going to do the Huey, Dewey, and Louie trick or treat short because I was worried I wouldn't get it done in time for Halloween. So I said, well, it'll come out the next one. And Cornbread reminded me of, so he suggested this one, and I do think it was a good suggestion. And I thought it was appropriate and worked out. It was like, I was like, this totally fits. So thank you, Cornbread, for the suggestion you suggested a while ago. Anyway. So today I'm going to talk about the short from 1932, Betty Boop for President. This actually came out 4 days before that year's presidential election day, which is kind of one of the things where you're like, I don't know if that... So were people seeing this like after the election? Were people okay with that? Like, that part I find interesting. It's basically about Betty Boop is running for president. She's running against Mr. Nobody, who has is just like a stick. He doesn't really even have a face. Betty sort of promises all sorts of cool things, including she says if she's elected, it'll be free jazz, movies, and cabaret, which is honestly a great platform. I'm not joking. That sounds amazing to me. I don't see why nobody's doing that anymore. Seems like a mistake, but this is similar to a one I reviewed before, which is Betty Boop when my ship comes in, which is more about her winning the lottery and how she would dispense this. This is not as extreme as that, honestly, but is still shows all the good she would do, including change mass transit where it would just drop you off right by your house, that the people would let cats cross the street, and that garbage guys would drive around in limos, which is not I don't know, it seems like an interesting infrastructure plan from Betty, but whatever. This came out for the 1932 election, which is the first election after the Great Depression. So you can imagine the incumbent didn't do super good because of that. Although despite that, as it's election season, it's interesting that everyone judges presidents based on the economy, and most people are but most of the economy during their term as president has very little, if anything, to do with them, which is why do we do that then? I always find that odd. It's but this guy, the guy Herbert Hoover, he did not do a great job with the economy post the Great Depression and did not help things. So you could blame him for this. And the person he was running against is actually FDR, who would be president from the 30s up until towards the end of World War II. So he, he definitely won in a landslide. I think he won all the states for the most part. It was a pretty insane landslide, and the Democrats took control of the White House for the next 20 years. But so this is interesting, them making a short about that election, because it seems a pretty big time in America and the world and everything like that. And it's 1932, so as William Millman just mentioned, pre the Hays Code. But there's certain things about it that when I bring up 1932, the other thing, and man, the chat's getting to me before I get there, is not only was this, during the Depression, and FDR obviously came up with a lot of good economic policies, and people loved FDR a lot. Very, that's why presidents can only have 2 terms, is because of FDR. But at the end of the short, like, Betty's celebrating with all these animals, and like she's won the presidency, and she shows, there's just a picture of a glass of beer, and the thing with the glass of beer thing is yeah, prohibition was still going on, and despite that, like, there's a lot of kind of write-ups about this election that don't bring up that prohibition was a big issue. I would say the fact that it ended with just an image of a glass of beer shows it was a fucking big issue, and it was an issue for people. And I think the idea that FDR wasn't like this, was this new guy, and they knew he would take care of people with economic policies, showed that he would repeal prohibition, which probably sucked. That's like, the economy is the worst it ever was, and you can't get drunk too. I mean, like, what were you supposed to do in your depression? Just jump out a fucking window? That sucks. Nobody wants that. So I I get that, but I think this is a really cute thing. It starts with, I think it says Max Fleischer nominates Betty Boop for president, which was a great little title card. They definitely have fun with this concept. I don't think Mr. Nobody is really trying to be anyone, but Betty Boop does do 2 impersonations, one of Herbert Hoover, and because animation took so long, they actually thought Al Smith, who didn't get the Democratic nomination, is who she's also doing an impersonation of, who is not the actual nominee, who was FDR. So she's actually making fun of someone who was not in the presidential race, which is kind of funny. I guess that meant something to people. One party mentions, like, he doesn't want to be on the radio. I have no clue if that's a reference, or like he was like, man, the radio, it's like rotten kids' brains, too much of that radio. It's interesting, but it's supposedly Betty Boop won in a landslide in this election. She did very, very well. I think I like cartoons where Betty Boop wins and makes society better. I'm fully on board voting Betty Boop. Don't write her in because, like, this election is scary. But in a funnier one, maybe you can. I do like, but yeah, it is funny that this has an impersonation of a presidential hopeful that didn't, by the time this came out, was not relevant anymore. So hey, it's not unique to Family Guy, kids. What's interesting is this was sort of remade twice. Once in this weird color feature in the 80s that used modern music, and I don't know what to do with that one. But this was actually remade by Famous Studios, who, if you don't know the whole Fleischer thing, after the Fleischers were sort of unceremoniously kicked out and left, and it was sort of taken over by Paramount, it became Famous Studios. They remade it as Olive Oil for President, using a lot of the same gags. In that it's sort of I think several people have said it's a reworking, which you kind of could see, and sometimes I've seen Looney Tunes do it, I've seen other animation studios do it 10 years later. They're like, hey, what if we did that again? It's interesting they did it with a different character with Olive Oil. So I just but I do think this is a nice little snapshot of how a cartoon would handle sort of political humor, how it would handle a pretty monumental election in American history, to be totally honest. And also how much better a job Betty Boop would have done if you let her be president. I like that the Fleischer brothers have some fun with this. I think the animation is really great and fluid, as it always is. It's just a wonderful early 30s pre-Hays Code Betty Boop short, and I really enjoyed it. I showed it to my kids. We had a fun time. They did ask me, why is that here? What is this? What is that? And I tried to answer the best I could. But it was an interesting Betty Boop short. What I've learned from this, and when the ship comes in, I need to review a Betty Boop short that does not involve her taking over everything and doing an amazing job. I think Betty Boop is a fun character, but I like the idea that she could run things better than anybody. And I don't think Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny could do, or Popeye could do a great job. I think Betty is unique in that she would think about, oh yeah, and that when she's saying the free cabaret, free jazz, free movies thing, she has just donkeys and elephants as the Republicans and Democrats. That was fun. It just has a lot of fun ideas, and I love the Fleischers' like quick little 30s cartoons. You know, their ambition hadn't fully like blown up to what it would be in the later 30s and 40s. It's you just see like their fun inventiveness. I often, when I watch these, think like I think the Fleischer brothers. I don't know much about them biography wise, but I feel like unlike Disney, they like to party a bit more, and you can sort of tell that in this. I hope it all works out for Betty Boop. I hope one day she can run for president, but until then, I just have the fantasy of watching the short from 1932 of Betty Boop for president. No, I mentioned the Family Guy thing because it's like a reference that by the time the cartoon comes out isn't relevant. I'm sure that's happened to Family Guy. That's the only reason I mentioned that. All right. Yo, free jazz. I mean, jazz is I feel like jazz is pretty easy to come across free, to be honest with you. I feel like you can do that. Anyway, let's do the Patreon questions. I'm going to write questions below. Questions. I would like to do the Cab Calloway one at one point, but it's just time and not something I have a lot of, as you can tell. All right. Okay. I will, Austin. I will do your question in the time I always do your question. All right. We have two Patreon questions. Three Patreon questions. One, and then Austin's will be fourth. Jordan Richard said, if you had to be on a game show on television, which would it be, why, and how would you do on it? Jeopardy! And if they had movie questions, I would do great. The other stuff, I would do horrible. If it was movie Jeopardy, that would be preferable. Sinram asks, a number of very prominent directors have had new projects announced recently, but they are untitled and little is known about their premises. These directors include Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Catherine Bigelow, Alejandro Inarritu, David Michaud, Paul Thomas Anderson. Which of these, if any, are you excited for? I'm excited for the Spielberg one because of the UFO thing. I'm excited for the Paul Thomas Anderson thing because I'm curious about him working with DiCaprio. The Bigelow one I'm sort of mid on. The Nolan one I don't know enough to care. To be honest with you, David Michaud, I forgot what his was. So that's but I'm going to say Spielberg. I would like to see a good Spielberg blockbuster again. Nathaniel Foga asks, what's a franchise you would like to see Aardman handle? I'm going to say this, and it might be sort of dumb, but Tintin. They could do a good Tintin, I guarantee it. I think they could do a good job. Like, let them do the Tintin sequel that never happened. Austin, in a sort of unofficial Patreon question, I guess, said, hey, Jim, sorry I forgot to write out a Patreon question. So I'm writing it in the YouTube. My question, have you tried the Oreo flavor of Coke or the Coke flavor of Oreos yet? If so, what do you think? I almost did, because I brought my lunch, but I forgot certain elements, and I saw it, and I thought about it, but I didn't want to. Maybe I will. I thought about it for like this instead of but I need sort of the caffeine, and I don't know. I haven't, but I've thought about it. Let me put it that way. All right. So other questions. Let's try to get most of these. I would like to, since we're not doing a show for 2 weeks. Cornbread said, so anybody, any questions, any super chats? I'm sorry to e-bag or whatever. Now, this is it for a little bit. Cornbread asks, considering that Tom Holland has been in almost all trash, a lot of people would say this, by the way, and Nolan having a batting average of at least good, which of Tom's movies would be better if he was replaced by Katana Wolfman? Cherry, definitely. And then Uncharted. And that's a good one. No, a lot of people have that was good. Okay, does anyone know I feel like if between the Fleischer Brothers and Disney, the Fleischer Brothers definitely did Ether. I do not imagine Disney did. Bioworks, I'm just saying. Ratboy Mickey, will you see Pan and Momocon next year? Probably not, just because I've been invited several times and I can't go just because that's a little harder, and I don't know about cons for right now in my life. I think I got to do the cons pre-pandemic, but it's like I have 2 kids now. It's just like there's so much going on. If a con local like New York invites me, I would totally do it. But the other thing is, when I did New York Comic Con before, it was free, and Nolan was there with me, and all those things. So those are kind of one of the things that changed it. But Not because I anti-pan or something. Don't take it that way. It's more just because I can't get over there. I would like to though. I had a wonderful time. Both it was like amazing. Like just being with all those people. I never get to do that. Rocket Lobax, when will you close down a McDonald's and pretend to work there? Okay, what I find out about that is like if you're doing a presidential a photo op thing, they always have to do that for security reasons. So when people are like, it wasn't open, I'm like, are you guys fucking stupid? Like, I didn't understand. Like, to me, it's like when when people were like, what a reveal. I was like, I mean, I kind of thought they weren't gonna let like anybody just show up and get fries from, because regardless of if you're a nominee, I think you get Secret Service protection, and he's a former president, so you get Secret Service protection. And I think in both of those, they would not let you just like let random ass people show up to McDonald's next to like a high profile. Like, they don't let you do that. So anyway, I found that to be very odd. First, William Elvin has it. I'll get to your super chat. Sorry. Have you seen the MST3K episode San Francisco International? It's the best kept secret of the show. I haven't. There's actually a lot of episodes I haven't seen, even though I spent so many hours watching it because the show is so long. William said, Are you a fan of Luca Fulci or Mario Bava's work? I probably didn't Fulci do Zombie. I do like Zombie a lot. The one where it says zombie versus shark. Man, we don't. But I like Bava. I've done some Bava. I would like to do more Bava at some point, but there's only so much you can do there. Where are we? Oh, okay. Zane Powers. Oh, hold on. Cheers to you, William. Thank you for your generosity tonight. Keeping me awake. Zane Powers' thoughts on Harvey Weinstein being diagnosed with bone marrow cancer and being diagnosed with leukemia. Do you feel bad to find him not guilty yet? I don't think you could feel bad. He has both. I wasn't sure if it was one or the other. Jesus. Man, like, even his body doesn't like him. All right, William Elman question. People say George Romero invented zombies, but that's not really true. What is your favorite pre-Night of the Living Dead zombie film? I would say Carnival of Souls. I always thought Carnival of Souls, they were ghosts. So I would agree with you. I think it's Carnival of Souls. I Walk with a Zombie, which is before I would say also. I mean, if you consider Frankenstein a zombie, I guess you would have to go with that. But I'm going to just say I Walked with a Zombie. But Carnival, is that a zombie? I always thought that was just a ghost. It's been a while since we Carnival Souls is great though. William Elman, thank you for the question. Black Saxwinkle, Paul Blart for president. I think he would do a good job. I'm curious what party he would be, but Ratboy Mickey, do you like Transformers? I do. I will review Transformers 1 at some point. I saw it's on digital, so I need to get better. I need to sit down and watch that after taking my son, which didn't work out. You should review the Betty Boop crossover shorts, Mandela Butterfly. I don't know those, but I would like to review more Fleischer Brothers in general. I think I have some plans I would like to do next year. Saying Fogo, what film drama you wish was done more often? That's actually a good question. Adventure isn't done very well and very often. Studio rom-com isn't done very often. Studio comedy isn't done. I would say those would be my big ones. Black Saxwinkle, favorite Halloween candy, probably any. I like kind of Reese's Pieces and stuff like that, but I used to love Milky Ways when I was a kid. I don't like them as much anymore. Mandela Butterfly, favorite vampire in media, probably Bela Lugosi to be basic, but also whoever was in Martin, I would say. The movie, not the Martin Lawrence sitcom. Cornbread, whatever happened to your evil musical talented clone, Jim Gisriel? Also, jazz is cool. Are you sure you're not the evil clone? I like Jim Gisriel. That's funny. I do like jazz. Because I grew up sort of with jazz, so I like Jim Gisriel. Like, he's wearing a beret and sunglasses all the time. I should wear sunglasses more. Anyway, Zane Powers, I saw one news report that said Filmbus McClumpus was winning all the swing states early. Then another story right next to it said they're losing in Doom. What's even going on? I have no clue. I agree. I've seen that too. Ratboy Minky, monkeys or gorillas? I'll tell you this about the monkeys versus gorilla. Are we talking about the... You're not talking about the bands, are you? I'm going to say monkey. If you're talking... I sorry. I was going to... Never mind. Zane Powers, have you ever been afraid of clowns? I mean, maybe sort of, not really. Not as a kid, too much. Cornbread, how does it feel now that you've unleashed the monster? It feels okay. Zane Powers, do you think the Chick-fil-A streaming service will be the next Quibi? I think it'll do okay, and they won't give up on it because they're sort of a proud company for too long. I think they might stick with it longer. Question: Get any new Switch games? And if you haven't, were there any games you wish to get? I know we're gonna get some for Christmas, but we were playing Mario Kart the other day, and that was fun. Question: what is your favorite animation studio? I mean, probably Ghibli or Fleischer Brothers. I would put Fleischer Brothers up there. We have another. Sorry about that. William Melman Super Chat said Romero was vague in it and called them ghoulies. Wow, just like he said 28 Days was infected people. Interesting. Cheers to you. I forgot about that. All right, let's where are we on this? Okay. Wait, what? Cornbread asks, can they not put Betty on Hot Tunes because she'll put all the previous cartoons ones look like chumps? Hot Tunes? You mean Me Tunes? She is on Me Tunes. I'm not sure what you meant by that. I'm sorry. The Amazing Circus first episode got 350 views. The newest episode only got 40 million views. Is for St. Powers. It's basically a dead show now that nobody watches anymore, right? I think, I don't know, and also the episode was split up on Netflix, so I would say that asterisk needs to be attached to it. Who's a bad actor or director you genuinely enjoy? Bad actor or director? Bad actor? I would say probably Dolph Lundgren. To be honest, I've loved him since I was a kid and I saw him in Master Universe. The Powers, what's the most egregious case of someone having someone so totally wrong about something because of their personal echo chamber, like thinking no one watches MCU because none of their friends do? I think often when I talk to someone about movies and they'll just sort of make something up, I see that one more than I think people would admit. Or when you're talking to someone and they'll be just bring up the MCU or superhero thing and it has nothing to do with the conversation. I see that quite a bit. I would say often when you're talking to someone and they just are they going to do the MCU? And you're like, nobody said that. Nobody fucking said that. If there's some connection, like when I mentioned Coogler and the MCU, obviously he works there and he has projects going and we heard that. That makes sense. But if I'm just when I'm talking about Denis Villeneuve, and they go, I thought he could have done Blade. And you're like, where the fuck did that come from? I see that a lot. And it's sometimes I just stop talking to Pingu. But question to Jim from Al Vasquez, what Treehouse of Horror would you show to your kids first? Probably the first one, just because I love that Edgar Allan Poe thing. But we'll see how I feel when we get to, I don't know if we'll do it this year. Super Dusky, have you seen Marvel's Werewolf by Night? If so, what did you think of it? Was a good newer representation of old Universal monster movies besides Monster Squad? Love both of those. I would say Monster Squad, so thank you for ruining that. I have seen Werewolf by Night. I guess we were doing these regular then. I would have done a segment on it. Maybe I should at some point. I actually liked it quite a bit. I guess it would be the Del Toro movie, the one that won Best Picture, that I always forget the name of, that one. Cornbread asks, letting you know here that in Brand New Half in the Bag video, they talk about and shout out stop motion. They both liked it. Stop motion keeps winning. Yes, stop motion's a cool movie. So, question: do you take the Ben Shell test seriously? I don't take it that seriously, but I do think it it brings up a thing about female representation in films, which I don't disagree with. Zane Powers says, when they remake a movie and change things from the original to exclude certain things, is that censorship? By the way, this is a reference to dumb gamers getting mad about Sonic. I don't think it's censorship. I think it's just adaptation. If they do it, I don't think that would be censorship. I think that's just adaptation, to be honest with you. And we have a super chat from Backboy Mickey who says, Jim, you're in the bottom in Phantoms. I love that. Cheers to you. Oh man, we're running late. Cheers to you. I'm honestly surprised I still have the energy. Okay. Um, Man, YouTube is being YouTube tonight. Alex J. Raff, Jim, evening, Mr. Gisriel. I was asleep, but my phone woke me up to inform me that you're live. Oh, I'm sorry I woke you up. I can't stay up since I've got a lot of work tomorrow, but at least I wanted to check in. Well, thank you for being here. Alves's question, have you thought about getting braids on your beard? I have actually thought about maybe decorating a bit. A little bit, but maybe not. Jim, will you review avocado on toast? Probably not. Same Powers. Why not ask one of your fans to record the timestamps for you? Hint, hint. If you got... Okay, here's what I'll say. If you want to, and you send it to me, you can, and I will credit you and whatever social media you want in there. I don't want to make people do anything because I know we all got lives and got stuff going. But if anyone wants to, you are more than welcome to. I was going to try to do loose timestamps of, small talk, Patreon, Discord, news, segment, all those things tonight. But if you want to, feel free to. I will co-sign that. But whoever does it first, I will credit you correctly, or whatever social media you want, or however you want to be credited. So if you want to, that is cool. But just DM me the timestamps and I'll put it in the description. It'll be there, and I would very much appreciate that. But I do not. I know there's a lot of subjects to cover, but I would say if you're going to do it, just do Marvel, DC. Don't do Spider-Man, Silver Sable. Like, break it up a bit so you don't make yourself go crazy. If you are going to do it, you do not have to at all. Zane Powers, what's a movie that proves you aren't nostalgic blind, like loving it as a kid and hating it now? I used to love Full House and I fucking hate it now. I can't watch it at all. So I would say, why do I do that to Shape Water? Like, that is like when the reboot came, I was like, I tried to watch it. I watched one. I was like, I fucking hate this show. Like, I really don't like it at all. And there's some of those movies, like, I'm worried. I used to be worried about Mrs. Doubtfire, and I rewatched them. Like, okay, this isn't that bad. But like any family stuff I liked as a kid, I like this is fucking garbage. But yeah, the Full House. I used to watch like an hour of it every day for several years in middle school. And now I cannot fucking stand that show at all. Like, I hate it. It's so awful. Like, how did people watch that crap? Anyway, Al Vasquez, I've seen complaints with Creature Commandos that it looks too similar to his Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy. Is James Gunn getting repetitive? He is a little repetitive. I thought that with the Suicide Squad movie. But I think if he can get that to work in a show, maybe it'll work out. I don't know. Kane Henshai, what is your opinion on Teen Titans Go announcing it's using stop motion for its 400th episode? I didn't know that. I didn't actually. Maybe I read that, but that's cool. Stop motion needs more work. Last question is, okay, we're going to hopefully we'll end this. Were you ever into clowns, St. Powers? I think as a kid, not possible. Where are my fingers? I don't know. That's weird. St. Powers, thoughts on fridging? Oh, I mean, plot devices are plot devices. And then finally, this is the last one. Rat Boy Mickey, what's that bad smell? I'm sorry. I think I left that cake out in the rain. I apologize. Anyway, all right. That is it. That is the show. I will see you guys post the election. Please vote. I guess if it matters, I'm going to vote for Kamala. So I hope you do as well for the future of our world. But I don't think me, this guy who is talking about movies in his kitchen, is going to really change much of that. But yeah. Anyway. Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you for all your support. I want to say thank you to everyone who gave a super chat during the show. That would be Black Aqua, Winkle, William Ellman, Classic Cameron, William Ellman, Sinram, Austin, Sinram, William Ellman, Sinram, William Ellman, Sinram, William Ellman, and Rapboy Mickey. I very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. There will be videos coming out. I think you'll be happy with them. It was amazing. I hope it was amazing. It was a crazy night before. So I want to say thank you very much. I hope this was good. You're all great. Please have a happy Halloween. See a cool horror movie. And I will see you all next time. You guys have a good night. And subscribe if you would like to. All right. See you next time. Peace.